Yeah, we're back here at the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB, where the radio always comes first and the streams come second. Stream wasn't working for you, try it again. We had to reboot it. It just is what it is. I don't really sweat it out too much when it doesn't work right. I just go with the show because that's what's important. And the radio will always come first. And I want to finish up with this article here from the Associated Propaganda. Richard Hughes IV called the judge's order a monumentous step towards restoring science-based vaccine policy and said it was echoed by leaders of several doctors' groups and public health organizations. So you can already see the legal mumbo-jumbo is also intertwining with the quote-unquote science community, aka the pharmaceutical companies, aka the richest industry in the world. It's not oil, it's pharmaceuticals. When you've got 15% of the world's population hooked on drugs, and I'm not talking like opiates. I mean, you think about how many people in this world, in the United States, take pills every day. The market there is just huge, and they invoke the science, Dr. Fauci, the science. Well, I've got some science. So MPH stands for a Master of Public Health. It's a graduate level professional degree focused on population health, public health, and Grok just decided to go crazy on me. Public health and practice and related fields like epidemiology, biostatistics, health policy, environmental health. So this isn't the doctors making the pharmaceuticals. These are the doctors who or the people who study what the outcome actually is. And so for that, we're going to go to this guy right here. And this is a 1 minute and 3 second video. I'm going ahead right now before I hit play on this video is I'm going to retweet it on my X account so that you can actually follow it as well. This is Nicholas Herscher, MPH, Master of Public Health. And this is his report on the good old Pfizer company.
Unfortunately, this has been happening for a very long time. Nobody really knows about it. But yeah, 1 in 4 women were taking these Depo-Provera Pfizer birth control injections, which is a long-lasting injectable synthetic hormone therapy. It suppresses fertility for about 3 months, can be longer than that. But unfortunately, it has appeared based on that study, it does appear that it has caused meningiomas or these disabling brain tumors in about over 13,000 women across the US. And so, that's very, very bad, and nobody really knows about it.
How many of you knew about that? Women, we all know that with the advent of the pill and with these shots, it's allowed the room for friskiness to open up widely, so to speak. How many women across this country, they say 13,000, that's just who we think are documented. How many women in Mississippi take the Depo-Provera shot? I know that there's MPH programs at Jackson State, UMMC, there might be some other ones. That'd be a great study. How many women in Mississippi have taken this shot for birth control and now are experiencing problems like this? Don't worry, I'm going to quote the Journal of Medicine here in just a minute.
And, I didn't know 25% of U.S. women were on these shots, but they are. And now many of them will be developing these tumors. And it would be advisable if you have taken one of these to get checked if you have developed one of these meningiomas. Pfizer is now facing a tidal wave of lawsuits for this very issue.
Well, you don't have to worry about that because President Reagan back in 1996 or 1986, excuse me, I believe, indemnified much of the pharmaceutical companies from facing lawsuits for their drugs that they create. And if you've noticed lately, when you talk about pharmaceutical commercials, do you notice how the first they're 60-second commercials, the first 15 seconds talk about all the good stuff that it does? and the next 45 seconds reads out all the possible complications to include death in there. And I'm like, why the hell are we putting all this stuff into our bodies when there's so many unknown questions? So many unknown questions. Let's take a phone call. Why not? Go ahead, you're on the air.
Good morning, my brother. How are you?
Brother Richard, it's been a hot minute.
It's been a minute. I've been busy. I've been busier than a long-tailed cat in a room full of rocking chairs.
Now that's busy.
That's busy, brother, busy. But it's good busy. Keeps you out of trouble.
Yep.
On topic reflections, I talked with many educated ladies who were godly women, shared the same faith that I did, had the same beliefs I did. You've never seen a group of individuals run in circles and do backflips as you did during the COVID conspiracy. And I would read to them in 1 Corinthians chapter 2, Paul talks about when he's addressing the people of Corinth that I am not an educated man. I do not have a huge amount of knowledge. I don't have degrees, but I do know this. I know what Christ has done for me. I know what he's brought me through. I know the changes and the rescue that he has done for me. Trust in him. But these same women are just absolutely losing their minds because we don't wipe services, we don't spread out, put on a mask. Oh, my soul, you sneezed. Oh, you coughed. Oh, I've never seen such panic. And as we know, the author of panic and confusion is
Yep. Preach,
and
brother.
These pharmaceutical companies take advantage of that. There's nothing wrong with taking a vitamin, a supplement, or something that you think that your body needs that makes you feel like you got a little bit more energy, maybe an anti-inflammatory. I got you. But these vaccines are nothing but money-making and long-term effective. But I'm going to tell you what, these women will line up with these babies and let them get stuck because they're afraid, what if?
Yep.
Trust in him. Trust in him. Have some sense. So I'm just going to tell you, brother, these people, when I grew up, my mom would always refer to, back before the war, that was a point of history for them.
Mm.
These people now say, well, back before COVID, like it's an historical event. It was a conspiracy. It's becoming more and more obvious every single day. People cling to the word, not to the pharmacy.
I agree with that 100%, Richard. That's awesome. I really appreciate the phone call.
All right, buddy. Have a good one.
Yep. That's Brother Richard, and he's spot on. And this is just one MPH making this study. I know that there are a lot of women who have taken this shot and are now sitting there going, "What the hell did I just put into my body?" Well, if you go to Andrew Gosser on X, I have linked the Journal of American Medicine, JAMA, JAMA study. And I'm just going to read to you the key points. Question: what is the association between the injectable depot, whatever that's called? It's got like 17 letters in it, and my God, it's great. But we're just going to call it the depot shot. What is the association between the injectable depot shot and a meningioma diagnosis for women in the U.S.? The population-based cohort study of a national U.S. database demonstrated that women using the depot shot had a statistically higher increased relative risk to developing a tumor in your brain diagnosis when compared with the women using oral metronidazole, whatever it is, or other contraceptives, and healthy controls without the use of these contraceptives. No increased risk of brain tumor diagnosis was found with any other contraceptive. Ladies and gentlemen, there you go. What's this mean? In this study, women who used the depot shot had an increased risk of developing brain tumors. And that's me taking out the scientific word for brain tumor and putting in brain tumor because my mouth is going to want to say it. My brain reads it just fine, but my mouth doesn't want to work like it wanted to. And then it has the abstract. And I know I'm going long here, but this is really important. And men, if your wife gets this shot, you need to sit down and have a real conversation with her. I don't have to worry about this in my household. I'm just letting you know. But there are a lot of good men and women out there who responsibly practice birth control in a stable marriage, and this is what they've decided to do. Well, we need to make sure that you get checked because Pfizer's out there, and this is again, this is a Journal of American Medicine. This isn't some fly by night study. And by the way, this is part of the Technique, Tactic, and Procedure Tuesday. That list that I told y'all to make, this is where I found it. And I found it this morning at about 5:30 after I got done praying. You know what? We're gonna take a break real quick, and then we'll get into the abstract of this study because it is just absolutely breathtaking and scary all wrapped into one. You are listening to the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. We'll be right back. Hey, we're in a commercial break. Can you hold on a minute?
Sure.
All right, hang on. Yeah. Welcome back to the Andrew Gosser Show. We've got a caller waiting online. Caller, are you there? Oh, guess not. He didn't want to wait the extra minute and a half to get on the air. Can't take a call during the commercial, just how it works. We're going to continue with the abstract. And Chat, I see you. We'll get to you, Charles Patriotic, here in a little bit, but we're on this right now. The abstract of this study, it's important that we go through this and get the science behind it, because the last thing I want to do is just go out there and create panic. I That's not the way I work. That is not how I operate. I will tell you the problem and give you the problem set, and then I will give you the data and allow you to make your own decisions. The importance of this paper, there lacks data clarifying the tumor risk conferred by the depot shot in the United States. To examine the relative risk of the tumors diagnosis in women using the depot shot or other related types of the shot. And here's the pull quote of this. Of the 118,289,082 total patients in the database at the time of analysis, 61,588,239 patients were female and eligible to get this shot. So there are let's just call it 61.6 million women out there who potentially had this shot at least once. I mean, you're talking about completely changing the whole DNA demographic for America by putting this stuff into your body. It's terrible. Patients were defined using diagnostic codes from the International Classification of Diseases, current procedural terminology, and other codes within the TriNetX database. The main outcome measure was tumor diagnosis. Relative risks and the number needed to harm were calculated. So they're breaking this down, and I would say that I know many scientists who can read this, and I know because I've already forwarded it to about 15 of them, and we will have a more clinical breakdown of this tomorrow or within the next couple of days, because I just don't want to read this story and then move on to something else. This just goes to show you how evil and how corrupted our pharmaceutical industry has become. I am sure back in the day, there were people in there with good intentions. I'm sure there are people with good intentions there today. But make no mistake about it, the science is no longer about the science. The science is about the grant money coming from NIH. Does that study come out with something positive or something negative? Does this make my new drug look good or look bad? And do I need to remind you, ladies and gentlemen, do I need to remind you that there are only 2 countries in the entire world out of the 189 countries, and that goes up goes up and down a couple every year. New countries come in, old countries fall off, and lines redrawn, whatever. But we're gonna say it's 189. Out of the 189 countries, there are only 2 countries that allow pharmaceutical companies to advertise on their TV and airwaves, radio. New Zealand and the United States. And think about this. Who sponsors the NFL? Pfizer, Viagra. Who sponsors CBS News on this very station? CBS News, brought to you by Pfizer. And the thing is they're spending millions of dollars every year on advertising. Millions of dollars. They're spending millions to get trillions. What a great return of investment. And I don't know what our senators and congressmen are doing. I try to be positive about this. I try to always look for the things that we're getting done and the things that we're not getting done. I'm pretty sure if we got rid of APAC, the world would be a better place and all this would go away, according to few people out there, the statistical minority. but that's not going to happen. There are so many, and here's the worst thing about when I try to put this all together and synthesize it into one cogent thought. There is so much happening. It's all coming at us so fast. If I didn't create that list last Tuesday, we would have never had this whole hour. Wouldn't have known about it. How many people in Mississippi would have known about this study? How many other studies like this are there out there where shots or vitamins or medications that we take have a very statistical significance of getting us sick and not helping? Now, I'm not sure what the effective rate is for women not getting pregnant on this shot are. I don't know. But man, if there's 15% of them getting brain tumors and it's all tied back to this shot, that needs to be taken care of. And people aren't going to like when I say this, and I don't like this because my senior political advisor will always remind me of this. Who was the one who gave pharmaceutical companies initial protection, government protection from adverse effects? Was it Trump? No. Was it Biden? No. Was it Trump 45? No. Was it Obama? No. Was it Bush? No. Was it Clinton? No. Was it Senior Bush? H.W. Bush? No. Was it Ronald Reagan? Yes. Yes, it was. It's just the truth. It's just the facts. Look, I still consider Ronald Reagan to be one of the Ronaldus Magnus. But when I think about some of the things that did happen during his tenure, he was the one that ultimately signed off on that. He could have vetoed it. Maybe he did. Maybe it was Tip O'Neill running the show back in the day back then. Democrats had control of the House and the Senate. They were pushing through their legislative agenda, and we didn't think about stuff like that. There are all sorts of crazy bills that were passed that we don't think about anymore because we're too glued into our cellular anxiety devices. Mine's blowing up. Brother Kim just texted me. I'm going to check that out during the break. But here's the point that I'm trying to say, ladies and gentlemen. You can get caught up in your K-pop demon hunters, your Britney Spears, your Arsenal Football Club. Go Gunners. Max Dowman. Awesome. And see, I always point the finger at myself too. I just don't want to guilt trip you. I point the finger right at me because I could spend less time worrying about my soccer team and more time doing research on things like this. But we're all human. But we all have our vices, or whatever it is. What do we consume? Are we consuming enough good stuff? A dessert is just supposed to be that. It's supposed to be about 5-10% of your meal, a little bit of nice sweet at the end of the meal. But it just seems like America, we're going to that dessert buffet and we're loading the boat and we don't even want any vegetable. We don't want any real protein. Nope. You are tuned into the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. We'll be right back. Yeah, welcome back to the Andrew Gosser Show. First, they came for the socialists, and I did not speak out because I was not a socialist. Then they came for the trade unionists, and I did not speak out because I was not a trade unionist. Then they came for the Jews, and I did not speak out because I was not a Jew. And then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak for me. If we had morals, self control, self worth, and some Jesus, birth control wouldn't be such a thing. Brother Rick, that was a biblical post, man. Biblical text. Read it word for word. I think it's awesome. Now, I want to just address something here in the chat real quick before we get into the next thing, because I think it's important when texters call in or texters text in or send chats. I want to answer them. And Charles Patriotic says, "Too bad you won't cover the Star Act. Senator Wicker betrayed the wounded warriors, betrayed the veterans." Dude, we talked about it. We've talked about it. What more can I do than give this platform or give that act a voice, a platform to go out there and let everybody know? Everybody knows that Roger Wicker killed the Star Act. Everybody knows that Roger Wicker's allowing the fraud to go on in California and in Minnesota. We can afford all that fraud, but we can't afford the Star Act. But you know what? The chances of me actually getting Senator Wicker's ear are about 1 in a gazillion. If I do get that, I'm going to buy a lotto ticket. But you know what? I can have a lot of impact talking to women and men out there about this crazy shot for birth control that so many people take care or depend on and utilize. And it's not a racial thing. It's a sexual health thing. And if we can bring awareness in people who are affected, whether they are black, white, Christian, Jew, Muslim, well, a Muslim wouldn't take a shot, I don't think. Conservative, Republican, Democrat, liberal, this shot affects everybody the same way. And if I can coalesce a group of people who normally wouldn't get together around something like this to open their eyes to maybe see that, hey, the pharmaceutical company isn't bad, then maybe we can get to that point to where you're at. I appreciate you wanting to defend our veterans. I am a veteran. I've taken a lot of shots through the military. I'm not sure I'll ever be able to prove that some of those vaccines didn't injure me and I didn't know about it. But think about all those young men who had to get and women who had to get the Clot 19 shot. Terrible. And Charles, if you're out there, I hope you run for office. I'm not saying you have to run for US Senate or Congress. I hope you become like a county board member or a mayor and you use your station to go ahead and bring awareness to veterans and things like that. You know, the federal government won't go ahead and give you any money, but it's not to say that the local government can't do something for wounded warriors. There are all sorts of organizations out there that do lots for our wounded warriors, and it's a tragedy and a crime that any of them are homeless. It's a tragedy and a crime, but they're out there. Meanwhile, Somalis are getting all sorts of daycare, and in the next hour, we're gonna go back to our man Nick Shirley. He's got some more video coming out of California. Absolutely shocking. We don't have any of that here in Mississippi, or if we do have it here in Mississippi, there isn't anybody talking about it. Again, it's the independent journalist that is making all of this happen. It's the independent journalist who brought out the thing about that parvo shot for women. It's the independent journalist who exposed the fraud in Minnesota and now in California. And they're mocking him and they're attacking him. We need more people like Nick Shirley, like James O'Keefe. You are listening to the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. We'll be right back. Fire them up. Oh, we're definitely firing them up here on the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB, emanating our signal out of our 50,000 watt blowtorch. We're also streaming on Rumble. We're also streaming on X. We're also streaming on YouTube. We're also streaming at WYAB.com, the mothership. So if you can't pick up the signal, go ahead, like, follow, share, subscribe, do all the things on my socials. I'd appreciate it. Build the word out there, get the word out there. That'd be awesome. And also follow me on X at Andrew Gosser. I shared it there, the study there from JAMA, and also the video where you can go and validate everything I said last hour. I've got the receipts. It's just not me Florida freestyling it in F-15 having fun over Whiskey 470 Alpha Bravo Delta Charlie. Nope. Definitely having a realistic conversation about that. No matter what, the mission here at the Andrew Gosser Show is standard. We are here to equip the saints. Who are the saints? Y'all are the saints. Gentle answer turns away wrath, but a harsh word incites anger. And apparently I'm ticking off a lot of the anti-Israeli people. And by the way, I'm not pro-Israel. I'm not anti-Israel. I'm pro-God. And people have been trying to sucker me into these debates, but I'm just telling you, I'm going to run back to Scripture. And I can argue both sides of the argument. I think we're missing the bigger point that there are bigger evils out there than some small state. There are movements, and good people can disagree. This is the other thing too. I don't understand how people get so angry. "Oh, I can't listen to this person anymore. He doesn't agree with me on issue X. Oh, he's hell bent on the Epstein files. Can't listen to him." But what about the stuff we do agree on? Can we accomplish those things? One of those people who have really changed a lot of people's thinking on this immigration issue is Nick Shirley. If you're not following him on X, you should be. It's just NickShirleyy, 2 Y's at the end. Nick Shirley. Just a 21-year-old kid, a microphone, Jehovah's Witness, virgin, doesn't do drugs, doesn't drink alcohol, out there doing his thing. Fearless. Truly fearless, going into some of those communities in Minnesota and now in California. And he is finding all sorts of stuff, fraud in California. That's why it was said, and people are like, Andy, $1 trillion of fraud? Really? Yes, $1 trillion of fraud. It could be as much as 40 to 50% of our debt in America is fraud over the last 5 years. We just don't see it because we don't have a law enforcement agency big enough to actually tackle this problem. Congress is too afraid to tackle the problem because they're afraid to look bad in the polls and they'll lose their election. It's all about themselves. It's not about the country. And I've got 2 clips here. This first one, it's pretty spicy, but we're going to play it anyways. Nick Shirley found a shady place in Los Angeles, and this is coming from Wall Street Apes, too, who's directly quoting Nick Shirley here. But, you know, with TTP Tuesday, that list has really come in handy. And this is a pretty decent article right here. And just listen, this is real journalism right here. This isn't the polished studio, professional voice, trained journalist. This is someone who's using journalistic practices, but is just a regular dude on the street who would love to have a Diet Coke or a Diet Pepsi with you, but don't offer him a beer because he don't drink beer.
In fact, in LA, there's locations that will teach you how to open up your own hospice center. So I went there with a potential business partner to try and become a multi-millionaire in hospice.
We know that hospice is a very lucrative business, so I've joined a business partner right here. His name's Darren, and we're here outside the Hospice Consultants, and we would like to start our own hospice today. We're just 2 young men who want to become millionaires here inside the United States, and it seems like the only way to do it nowadays is by committing fraud. So we're going to go in and see if we can start our own hospice. Are you guys the Hospice Consultants?
Yes.
Oh, can we talk to you guys?
About?
I want to open my hospice.
You want to open a hospice?
Yeah.
Okay. What was your name?
My name's Nick, but I want to open up a hospice.
I understand, but we don't take care of that.
Can I get some information?
Do you want a number?
Yeah, or give me a flyer or something.
Let me
these chicks are freaking out. They're behind a gated community. And the thing is, the sign on the front of this building says consulting to start your own hospice business. They're so open and brazen about it. And then people get mad at me because I rip on Pam Bondi and say she's got boobs on a bull. People get mad at me for that. I'm not the one sitting here advertising how to start a fraudulent consultant hospice facility. I'm just grateful and thankful I've got a job where I can come into work, talk to y'all every day, 5 days a week from 10 to noon, be truthful with y'all, keep it 100. So many of you are out there trying to make an honest living. Shout out to the blue collar crew. Shout out to all you doctors and nurses out there trying to take care of people the best you can. Shout out to you policemen and firemen out there who protect our community selflessly, not missing out on you paramedics either. I know you're doing stuff. The water crews out there, the utilities people, the polemen, the linemen. You know, there's so many of us who are trying to do the right thing, and yet you've got people like this skimming the system for millions of dollars. Let's continue.
And this is the hospice consultant.
Yes. Not only hospice and home health.
All right, so they say they're open right now. They won't let us into the lobby. This is no way to conduct business. We are two entrepreneurs trying to open up our own hospice.
Soaked to the bone right now.
We were denied service by the potential fraudsters, and as we were leaving, one of the fraudsters started to leave from the back in a $200,000 Maybach.
And we have a Mercedes-Benz driving out. Where can we open a hospice at? We'd like to open up a hospice. See the Maybach just like you. So is this how I can get a Maybach by opening up my own hospice?
That is just absolutely incredible. I don't even know what the heck a Maybach is. Can somebody tell me what a Maybach is? It's Maybach. I've got a Mahindra 65 horse tractor I can talk to you about. Nothing about no Maybach. And this is what's happening in California. Oh, this fraud doesn't affect me here in Mississippi. The hell it don't. Andrew, those words come out of your mouth. It's hell on earth. Yes, it's exactly what it is. And then we get mad when we have state auditors who start pointing this stuff out, and all of a sudden we got to take powers away from the state auditor because he might start finding something like this, which is why I am so inspired. It's why I want to go ahead and implore so many of you to be citizen journalists. It's why I support things like Turning Point USA. And I'm still a believer in that. And this is the other thing I get. Andrew, your faith is pretty evident. Well, I can't help it. That's just how God made me. Does anybody know who Dr. Frank Turek is? Has anybody ever heard that name? He's an apologist. He was with Charlie in Utah on the day he was martyred. He was in the back of the SUV when they were rushing Charlie to the hospital. He's actually coming to Ole Miss on the 31st of March. It's called Pick Up the Mic. And if you want to go, I've got information on how you can get there. Let me know. I'm doing this as a PSA for my friend Jacob. And honestly, I want the atheists to go. I want the agnostics to go. It's great for those of us who are politically inclined, but we need to get our kids in there. We need to pack full of kids to hear what an apologetist does. And some of you all who have been sitting in the pew for months and years on end, but can't go out and defend the word, maybe you should go too. I'm not trying to convict you. I'm not trying to call you out. I'm just saying. Now back to our regularly scheduled program. This one is even worse than the hospice consultants. And this is 1 minute and 53 seconds. I'm going to try not to interrupt it. I might, but the end will absolutely infuriate you. If X decides it wants to go. Wow. Unbelievable.
Now let's go to another one that's even more concerning as kids are left all alone. Now we're at the Jama Shukri Family Childcare. This place is not a shopping plaza. It's not anywhere near.
Shout out to Nick real quick on pronunciation of the name. Man, I see a name like that and I'm just like, I give up.
Near any place that looks like a place where a daycare would be. In fact, it's actually in one of these apartments right here. So they're able to have daycares inside apartment buildings?
Yes. So I've come across many of these. Some of these are on the third story of an apartment complex. It's only 1 bedroom, and yet the capacity is for 8 kids.
We just arrived at the daycare. We have 2 kids out here. I don't know if they're members of the daycare. There's no oversight right here. Can we talk to your teacher? Is your teacher there? So this is the first child we've ever encountered at one of these daycares. There's 2 kids out here right now, and we're gonna see if we can talk to the
Licensee. It is, according to this paperwork, Shukri Jama.
Can we talk to the adult?
He is not here.
Do you hear that? These kids can't be more than 4 years old. He is not here.
Not here.
Yeah.
So you guys all by yourself?
Yeah. Look at the door.
No one's here.
No one is here. No one is not here.
Okay, so you guys are all by yourself?
Okay. I can see by myself.
Yeah, okay, that's
Dog.
concerning. No one's watching those children and they're all by themselves.
My heart is breaking right now. I can't. Unbelievable.
Yeah,
Now, let me just say something here before the last part of the video goes. There is a higher probability of this woman and Nick Shirley being charged by California for not reporting those kids to DHS or Department of Family Services because they left those kids alone than the daycare owner who is sitting there defrauding the government out of millions of dollars and leaving those kids alone. It's absolutely shameful. Oh.
what makes you so emotional as a mother seeing that those kids are just out by themselves?
Seeing the kids all by themselves. It's supposed to be a licensed daycare, and there's no adult anywhere. What is going on?
And the crazy thing is, California allocates $6 billion to childcare and daycare facilities just like these, and there are over 39,000 facilities in the state.
How about that? Mississippi, your tax dollars at work. Control what you can control. Empower the people who want to go and audit things here in Mississippi. I got some neighborhoods we could go to. We need more citizen journalists like Nick Shirley, James O'Keefe, and others. Some of these people have really placed themselves in harm's way. Dee Dee's texting in. It's a luxury Mercedes. It's called a Maybach. Yankee accent. I don't know. I'm never going to own one. I'll take a new tractor if something really big happens. That's what I'd spend my money on. Then again, I'm just a simple guy, simple farmer with a radio show who just happens to be involved in politics, who loves God. You are listening to the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9. We will be right back. Yeah, we are back on the Andrew Gosser Show right here on 103.9 WYAB. One of the questions I get asked a lot is how come everybody's so angry? And I always blame social media. I'm getting this from a guy in Nigeria, and I've reposted it on my X account, but it's just a simple meme. It says the lines of life to criticize. Everybody gets in line to criticize Trump, Governor Reeves, Delbert Hosemann, Shad White, Andrew Gosser, Clay Edwards, Kim Wade, who am I missing? Chip Matthews, Lindsey Beckham, Sean Yurkaron. Everybody will get in line to sit there and do that. Now, everybody who's in that criticized line will not move to the next step, which is to gossip. Gossip is an evil thing. Did you hear what they said about Andrew Gosser and his Parkinson's disease? Did you hear about that? Oh my goodness, I didn't know that. And they'll sit there and they'll spread rumors and lies and all sorts of stuff. Andrew can't get out of bed. Some of the gossip that comes to me, man, I'm just like, my goodness, these people need help. They need counseling. They need Jesus. Then the next line, even fewer go to this next line, is to get involved. Some of my good friends who hear the gossip say, hey, Andrew, did you hear this being said about you? And I never actually go back to the person who says it, even though I know who you are, because I can't be bothered by all this negativity and craziness. I've got too much to do. There's too much in store for me. So there are people there who get involved. Now, this is the get involved stage is kind of misleading in a little bit in this meme, because to me, to get involved means I'm going all in. I'm like doing a Nick Shirley. I'm doing a James O'Keefe, a Nick Sordor. I want to go out to those front lines. I want to be accounted for. I always wanted to make sure that my wingmen knew that I was all in, and they did. There was never any doubt. But then there's the next phase, which even fewer people go to, and that's the encouragement line. And, there's a reason that I read this one every once in a while. Therefore, encourage one another and build one another up, just as you also are already doing. Yep. That's why I encourage people like Charles Patriotic who are fired up about Wicker and the save and the START Act or the STAR Act. Excuse me, I got it confused with the Save America Act, which is being filibustered right now. Apologize, Charles. But that's why I encourage you to get involved. Become a precinct delegate. Become a mayor. I encourage everybody. I encourage the liberals to do it, the conservatives to do it, the Democrats to do it, the Republicans to do it. As long as you are not part of that system. And look, I know that there are good people who've been in the party for a long time. Very good people. But if we don't build the bench, if we don't go ahead and build that bench up to where we bring in new people, which is why I support Turning Point and other organizations like that, MPVR, Conservative Coalition, GOP. I encourage those places that build up networks and organizations, lines of communication. And then out of the few that actually go and encourage, there's even fewer that will actually go and help somebody run for office, get out there. And again, I'm normally, that's the get involved for me, but I know I'm not trying to be braggadocious or anything, but I know that I'm a little bit more motivated than most. Once I'm in, I'm in. And that's just how I feel. And when I got sent this, and he's a Chelsea fan too, which if you're a soccer fan in England, then you know Chelsea, terrible team, just got suspended and fined and banned and all sorts of stuff for cheating, cooking the books. But man, when somebody like that posts something like that, you know what? I'm gonna follow this Bubba from Nigeria, Chelsea diehard. There you go. Gave him a follow. And shout out to the Christians in Nigeria, the ones being persecuted. Now, when saying that, we got to get to the women and listen to what this crazy witch has to say.
Now, I'm not saying that that regime is not bad.
The regime she's talking about is the Iranian regime.
But by the way, our regime is not good. Our regime has secret police. They have secret police. Our regime is oppressing women, taking away abortion rights, taking away women's rights in like 26 states, some states where they're trying to have the death penalty for having an abortion. They also oppress women. They have the highest rate of women who are in STEM careers. We're kicking women out of the military, out of university. We're saying that DEI means women can't be hired for high positions in the sciences. We're marginally better. And we're doing it for Christianity. They're doing it for Islam, right? Yeah. So it's like we don't get told those things because it would take away the kind of American exceptionalism narrative that makes it easy to take our people and send them off to die in a war that we have nothing to do with, that we don't want.
It almost sounds like these anti-Israeli, anti-war people agree with Joy Reid. And to think that Joy Reid is comparing the American woman's plight, if you want to call it that, to the Iranian women's plight. I don't see any Americans throwing acid in women's faces for not wearing a hijab correctly. I don't see any Americans forcing their daughters to wear full-up burqas at age 7 or marrying off their daughters at age 8 to a 49-year-old pedo like Iran. How about the Iranian women's soccer team that wanted to defect, and they did defect? And then what happened? The IRGC went and kidnapped their families, and their families all went missing. Who's braver, the Iranian women's soccer team or this witch who dyes her hair like Donald Trump? And she's the type of person who gets the clout, who gets the street cred in the urban community. And she's flat out wrong. We're not kicking people out of the military because they're women. We're kicking people out of the military who are men who think they're women, who can't do a trunk check and figure out what the hell they are. We're not kicking women out of science. There are so many women out there who have PhDs and meaningful degrees. I'm not talking about West African lesbian studies from the 1850s. We're talking astronomers, neurologists, medical doctors, dentists. The best thing about America is if you've got the brain power to do it and you've got the motivation to do it, you can make it happen. In Iran, you don't have that happening. And by the way, Christianity doesn't limit what a woman can do, but Islam does. But we don't want to talk about that because we got to keep the separation of church and state, freedom of religion. Our founding fathers were not Christians, they were agnostic or they were deists, which is completely BS, which we blow up every Friday, and I enjoy doing so. You know, she's already lost her national radio show or her national TV show on MS. Well, it was then MSNBC. She's completely unobjective. I don't wish any ill will on Joy Reid. I don't wish any harm on Joy Reid, but she's just bat spit crazy. When I think of about brainwashing, I look at her and I think that her and Tiffany Cross. And it's got nothing to do with the color of their skin. It's got everything to do with their ideas and how they think and come to resolution on ideas. Women are being murdered in Iran, and women are murdering their babies in America. Make it make sense, ladies and gentlemen. You are listening to the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. We'll be right back. Yeah, yeah. I got it. Yeah, we are back at the Andrew Gosser Show on 1039 WYAB, moving and grooving. You know, every once in a while, you just got to go back to the people who just spit at 100. And Uncle Ted, if you know who Uncle Ted is, that's Ted Nugent. He posted something, and it just fits in perfectly with Joy Reid and all these crazy leftists. You know, no one living in Venezuela defends Maduro. Do you remember after we invaded Venezuela, liberated all that oil? By the way, America's oil prices are artificially inflated. We get less than 1% of all of our oil from the Middle East. So this whole Suez shutdown doesn't mean a hill of beans to us. Not one drop of oil has been delayed in America, but yet we're seeing it at the pump. Tell me that evil corporations are taking the American consumer and taxpayer for a ride. No one living in Iran defends the murderous, women-hating regime of the Islamic Republic of Iran, unless you're Joy Reid and a crazy leftist nut job. No one living in Cuba defends communism. Just saw videos last night of the youth burning down communist headquarters in Havana because we're getting rid of that communist regime. It's a hellhole. All you communists in California and in Oregon and Washington, just go move to Cuba if you like communism so much. They wouldn't take you. It's only an ignorant, entitled leftist, disconnected from reality, who could ever defend any of these. And that's the truth. That's the truth. You know, yesterday, Pete Hegseth had a press conference, and this is coming from Fox. And I want to play this because I want to talk about Mr. Joe Kent, because there are some people who are throwing his name around, and I need to make sure that I have a very clear and direct conversation about Joe Kent.
Because you, and I mean specifically you, the press, specifically you, the press corps, because you cheer against Trump so hard, it's like in your DNA and in your blood to cheer against Trump, because you want him not to be successful so bad, you have to cheer against the efficacy of these strikes. You have to hope maybe they weren't effective. Maybe the way the Trump administration has represented them isn't true. So let's take half-truths, spun information, leaked information, and then spin it in every way we can to try to cause doubt and manipulate the public mind over whether or not our brave pilots were successful. How many stories have been written about how hard it is to, fly a plane for 36 hours? Has MSNBC done that story? Has Fox? Have we done the story how hard that is? Have we done it 2 or 3 times so that American people understand? How about how difficult it is to shoot a drone from an F-15 or 16 or F-22 or F-35? Or what it's like to man a Patriot battery? Or how hard it is to refuel midair? Giving the American people an understanding of how complex and sophisticated this mission really was. There are so many aspects of what our brave men and women did that because of the hatred of this press corps are undermined because your people are trying to leak and spin that it wasn't successful. It
is irresponsible. And that's why I say the mainstream media is an enemy of the state. It's why I get so fired up over people like Joy Reid and people on CNN, Abby's Phillip. Talk about a train wreck. That's why I get so upset about MS Now. And because all they do is preach the negative, preach the negative, preach the negative. When somebody who has honor, when somebody who has integrity, who truly understands duty, honor, country, and the real sacrifice that these men and women make, and it comes out against a view that I disagree with, or comes out against a view that I agree with, it only diminishes that, because I can see the propaganda. I can see the spinning. Joe Kent, father of 2 amazing boys, husband, retired Green Beret combat veteran, Gold Star husband, director of the National Counterterrorism Center. Well, that's until tomorrow because he officially resigned today. Joe Kent's wife was an interpreter in Syria and was killed in action. So when Joe Kent comes out with a letter like this, I'm entitled, or I'm inclined to sit back and re-examine my position on this. Joe Kent has he's paid the second most ultimate sacrifice, the loss of his spouse. He's a gold star husband. He says, I cannot in good conscience support the ongoing war in Iran. Iran posed no imminent threat to our nation, and it is clear that we started this war due to pressure from Israel and its powerful American lobby. It has been an honor to serve under POTUS and DNI Gabbert and leading the professionals at NCTC. May God bless America. So now I am forced to re-examine my position. Do I agree with Joe Kent here? And the truth is, I can see where he can, and he gets to see things I don't. I can see where he's ticked off at people like IPAC. My phone's blowing up now. IPAC CCC and its powerful American lobby. I agree we should ban all foreign donations to campaigns. You know, on this show, this is the only radio show in Mississippi that went through all the IPAC donations on the air. The only one. But I disagree with you, Mr. Kent. I cannot in good conscience support the ongoing war with Iran. Iran posed no imminent threat to our nation. Sir, I respectfully disagree. And let me tell you why. You've had 47 years of death to America impregnated onto the youth of Iran. Iran has funded Hamas, Hezbollah, Islamic Jihad, and sent their drones all over the world, to include the United States of America. And they've come here over years and years and years. They've been in the United States for decades. And they're just waiting for their go order. And we know this to be true. It's only because of the brave men and women that you commanded, people at the FBI, CIA, and other agencies that have been able to intercept some of these attacks. To say that Iran doesn't pose no imminent threat to our nation is a lie, in so much as look at the gas prices. Well, if we just left him alone, so you leave the devil alone, he's going to leave you alone? No, you leave the devil alone, he just builds his army bigger, adds demons to the fight, makes them stronger, makes it harder to fight the war. Andrew, they have no power to come over here and get us. That's not true. Backpack nukes are a real thing, ladies and gentlemen. We know Russia has them. We suspect China has them. America has never confirmed nor denied that they have a backpack nuke. I know we have missiles and bombs and yeah. But if we have that, that's above my pay grade. But I respect you, Joe Kent. You exemplify duty, honor, country. And instead of going out like a flaming alpha, that is a fire that leaves an ash, you simply made your statement and moved on. And there's not one commander out there who would not appreciate someone like that man, Joe Kent, being in their command. This was his hill to die on. I'm not saying it's mine. I'm not saying it's yours. Brother Chase texted in and says, when the devil leaves you alone, you're already on his side. That's true. And I am not trying to glorify the people who are supporting Joe Kent decision. And I'm not trying to vilify those people who are going after Joe Kent's decision. Why can't we just look at him as the war fighter that he is with the life experiences that he has and say, "Hey, this is how he feels." Why do we have to get all nasty? You know, there's a saying in Russia, politics or you don't care about politics, but politics cares about you. You might not think that Islamic terrorism doesn't care about you, but it does. The soft underbelly of America is the target. And I just don't have any time for anyone who is going after this dude and using him as an obnoxious example of why to either A, support the war or B, not support the war. I feel that my reasoning and explanation of why I disagree with Joe Kent has been fair and admirable, above board, not sophomoric, childish, or otherwise slandered the good name of Joe Kent. I just disagree with them. Joe Kent's seen it more than me, the productiveness and the fierceness and and the pure evil that is Islamic terrorism, Green Beret, combat vet, and yet this is how he feels. Maybe we need to take stock in some things, look at things from a different angle. But that does not mean that I do not support the decisions that we've made from our commander in chief on down. And I agree with Pete Hegseth when the news media is the main enemy right now of America, along with the Islamic Jihad people. Mainstream media needs to be held to account. Then after them, the judges. And by that, I mean losing their jobs, finding new places of employment, getting removed from the bench. And in no way, shape, matter, form, nature, or relationship am I advocating for anything bad to happen like that. That's not the way we do things in America. It's not the way I was raised to do things either. You are listening to the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. We'll be right back. Dudes, I appreciate everybody listening in on the stream. I know it got screwed up in the first segment. We'll fix it for next time. Chase, appreciate you checking in. Charles, patriotic, I appreciate you checking in as well, man. I really do. Yeah. Welcome back to the Andrew Gosser Show. I'm glad that my friend from Nigeria followed me back, man. That's pretty cool. Follower in Nigeria. Appreciate it. Look, people texting him, am I going to talk about NATO not doing what they're going to do, or not going to support what's going on in the Middle East? And I get that. And I'm just being very upfront and open with y'all. Sometimes I get going on a topic and I get every segment plotted out, and then sometimes I go long, and it time just runs out. Our time together goes by so quick. But the beautiful thing is that we're gonna have 2 hours again tomorrow to do it all over again. And before I go, I always like to keep something here local from to Mississippi, and Brother Kingfish has done it again. From California to Mississippi, here's a California transplant who's living in Mississippi now, and she loves it.
I moved to Mississippi from Southern California 3.5 years ago, and these are just some cultural shocks I've experienced since living here. Excuse, I look like a mess.
Valley Girl.
The first thing is that everybody here is just either white or black.
Yep.
People ask me all the time, like if I'm Chinese or Vietnamese, because they just don't know
She's a Filipino.
other races, I guess, like in between that. The second thing is that the Mexican food here, everybody gets what's called a happy plate, which is like cheese, chicken, rice, or shrimp. I'd never heard of that before. They don't have a lot of the Mexican food that we have in California.
And I'm going to stop it right there. But if you go to jacksonjambalaya.com and look on Hot Damn, Welcome to Mississippi, her what is it? TikTok video is there. And you can follow her if you want to do that. But I just found it refreshing because, I am an Illinois transplant as well. I am escaping the People's Democratic Republic of Illinois, which is closely aligned with North Korea and China. And I don't bring any of that hot garbage down here. In fact, when I go up north, people recognize me, and they're kind of like I'm a beacon of light to them, much like this young lady right here is a beacon of light to us. We're better to have her here in southern Mississippi. And man, I'll tell you what, when I see things like this, the power of positivity, we've got to be positive with each other, ladies and gentlemen. We've got to be positive with each other. And then finally, Brother Chase was in the text, and we used to go to church together. He ended up getting married to a beautiful lady and moved away, but he visited last Sunday, and I was homesick. And I just wanted to say thank you to everybody who texted in, called in, and made the show what it is. I thought it was a great show today. We'll make it better tomorrow. And we will talk about how NATO is completely ungrateful. And it just seems like the countries of NATO and Europe have forgotten the lessons learned from World War II. They've allowed themselves to be invaded again. And it's going to get ugly. It's going to get messy. And don't worry, England. Don't worry, Germany. Don't worry, France. We'll bail your sorry butts out of it again, like we always do. You are listening to the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. We'll see you in about 22 hours.